On this day in history, we remember the remarkable individuals who shaped our world. Welcome to Who Died Today in History, where we honor their legacies. From artists to leaders, their impact lives on. If you find their stories meaningful, like, subscribe, and hit the bell to stay connected. Michael Jackson, known globally as the King of Pop, died suddenly on June 25, 2009, at the age of 50 from acute propofol and benzodiazepine intoxication. His death was ruled a homicide, with his personal physician, Dr. Conrad Murray, later convicted of involuntary manslaughter. Jackson's final moments, under heavy sedation in a rented Los Angeles mansion, reflected the immense pressures of fame, the dangers of unchecked celebrity access to medication, and the growing culture of overwork and image obsession in the entertainment industry. Jackson's death occurred as he was preparing for a massive comeback concert series, This Is It, which was to revive his career and reshape his legacy after years of controversy, including allegations of child abuse and financial troubles. His sudden passing sparked an international wave of grief. Fans gathered in cities across the globe, mourning not just a man but a symbol of their youth, of pop music's golden age, and of a transcendent cultural figure who had united people across borders through music and performance. The immediate consequences of his death were immense. His record sales soared, documentaries and tribute specials aired worldwide, and renewed attention was given to his groundbreaking contributions to music, dance, and video. At the same time, his death reignited debates about fame, exploitation, and the burden of stardom, raising questions about how society treats its icons, particularly when their private pain becomes public spectacle. Jackson's passing amplified his legend in ways that were both celebratory and complicated. While many elevated him to mythic status, akin to Elvis Presley or Marilyn Monroe, others saw his death as the tragic culmination of a life spent chasing perfection, haunted by trauma and isolated by superstardom. His story became a parable for both the dazzling heights and the suffocating costs of fame. In death, Jackson's legacy has been continually reshaped through documentaries, stage productions, academic studies, and tributes. From murals in poor neighborhoods to holograms on global stages, he is immortalized in forms that reflect his paradox. A deeply private man whose life unfolded under constant public scrutiny. Ultimately, Jackson's death forces reflection on mortality in the modern age, how power, pressure, and memory intersect when someone becomes more than human in the public eye. His life and legacy challenge us to consider how we honor, consume, and remember those who shape our culture so profoundly. Farrah Fawcett, the iconic actress and model best known for her role in Charlie's Angels, died on June 25, 2009, the same day as Michael Jackson, from anal cancer at the age of 62. Her passing, though overshadowed by the sudden death of the King of Pop, revealed the quiet resilience of a woman once defined by beauty and fame, yet remembered for her strength and dignity in the face of terminal illness. Diagnosed in 2006, Fawcett chose to fight her cancer publicly. She allowed cameras to document her painful battle in the emotional documentary Farrah's Story, which aired just weeks before her death. By doing so, she not only humanized the often sanitized narratives surrounding celebrities, but also brought rare attention to a stigmatized disease. In an era when image management dominated Hollywood, Fawcett's choice to show her vulnerability was both radical and deeply moving. It reflected a shifting cultural value, authenticity over glamour. The immediate consequences of her death included widespread tributes from fans and colleagues, though much of the media focus quickly turned to Michael Jackson. Still, Fawcett's death sparked a meaningful conversation about how society views female aging, illness, and fame. She had once been the poster girl of 1970s American femininity. Her famed red swimsuit poster became a defining image of the decade, but her final years recast her as a figure of courage and self-possession, challenging the superficial lens through which beauty icons are often seen. While Fawcett's passing didn't shift the trajectory of history, it amplified her legacy in unexpected ways. Her once typecast image as the golden-haired angel was replaced by a narrative of empowerment and advocacy. She posthumously received acclaim not only for her earlier work in television and film, but also for the awareness she raised around cancer and the human experience of dying. Her memory is preserved through her charitable foundation, the Farrah Fawcett Foundation, which funds cancer research and prevention. In art and media, she remains a complex icon, once symbolic of fantasy, later of fortitude. Statues, exhibitions, retrospectives, and biographies continue to explore her impact on American culture. Farrah Fawcett's death underscores the way society grapples with mortality in the public eye. It reminds us that even icons can face the end with grace, and that true legacy lies not only in the roles we play, but in how we confront our most human moments. Bill Cobbs, the distinguished American character actor with a career spanning over 4 decades, passed away from natural causes on June 24, 2024, at the age of 90. His death marked the quiet end of a long and prolific life in film and television, yet it resonated deeply within an entertainment industry increasingly reflective about its past and the underappreciated contributions of Black artists. Cobbs, often cast in supporting roles, became a subtle yet steady presence in Hollywood. His characters were wise, warm, and often carried the weight of lived experience, roles that reflected not only his own gravitas, but also the barriers he faced as a Black actor who came of age during the Civil Rights era. Unlike the glamorous exits or violent ends that sometimes define celebrity deaths, Cobbs' passing felt emblematic of a generational shift, a farewell to a type of actor whose strength lay in quiet dignity and artistic perseverance rather than stardom. The immediate consequences of his death included a wave of tributes from fellow actors, directors, and fans who remembered him from classics like The Bodyguard, Night at the Museum, and Sunshine State. More than mourning a loss, many reflected on how often Cobbs' performances had gone unheralded despite their emotional impact. In a media landscape that frequently prioritizes celebrity over craftsmanship, his passing revived conversations about representation, longevity, and the value of character actors in shaping cinematic narratives. Cobbs's death did not necessarily shift the course of history, but it did prompt a re-evaluation of the actors who support cultural storytelling without dominating it. His legend, understated in life, grew in death, his name trending across platforms, his filmography rediscovered by younger audiences. In this way, his departure amplified his contributions and highlighted the quiet legacies many artists leave behind. In contemplating Cobbs' passing, we are reminded that mortality doesn't always come with spectacle. Sometimes it is the quiet lives, the enduring presences, that echo most profoundly. Humanity's relationship with power and memory often overlooks the steady in favor of the sensational. Yet in commemorating figures like Cobbs, through retrospectives, archival screenings, and the continuation of inclusive storytelling, we acknowledge the essential role of those who, though never center stage, held the whole production together. Tony Hancock, one of Britain's most influential comedians, died by suicide on June 24, 1968, in Sydney, Australia. His death, a tragic culmination of personal and professional turmoil, revealed the often unspoken burdens of fame and the internal battles faced by those who pioneered modern entertainment. Hancock's end was not only violent in its finality, but also emblematic of a time when mental health, particularly among public figures, was poorly understood and rarely addressed. Hancock rose to fame in the 1950s with Hancock's Half Hour, a groundbreaking radio and television show that redefined British comedy with its blend of satire, character depth, and everyday melancholy. However, his success was marred by self-doubt, alcoholism, and a relentless pursuit of perfection. By the late 1960s, his popularity had waned, his personal life had deteriorated, and he was battling severe depression. While in Australia attempting a comeback with a new television project, Hancock died alone in a hotel room, leaving behind suicide notes that spoke of deep despair and a sense of failure. The immediate response to Hancock's death was one of collective shock. Britain mourned a comic genius who had once united a nation in laughter. His death sparked conversations about the darker side of celebrity and the price of artistic innovation, especially for those ahead of their time. It also shone a spotlight, albeit dimly at the time, on the mental health struggles of performers, a topic that remains relevant decades later. In death, Hancock's legend only grew. His work was re-evaluated as a template for modern character-driven comedy, influencing generations of comedians from John Cleese to Ricky Gervais. The tragedy of his early death added to the mythos of the tortured genius, a figure whose brilliance was inseparable from his suffering. Statues, biographies, and documentaries have since commemorated his legacy, cementing his place as a cornerstone of British comedy. Hancock's death invites reflection on the complex interplay between fame, vulnerability, and memory. It underscores how society often celebrates artistic output while overlooking personal struggle. Yet through ongoing remembrance, on screen, in writing, and in national memory, we ensure that Hancock is not just remembered for how he died, but for the wit, innovation, and emotional honesty he brought to comedy. In doing so, we confront the cost of genius while honoring its enduring impact. Johnny Mercer, one of America's most celebrated lyricists and songwriters, died of a brain tumor on June 25, 1976, in Los Angeles, California. His death, though natural, marked the quiet conclusion of an era when music was not only entertainment, but a poetic reflection of American dreams, heartbreaks, and aspirations. Mercer's passing underscored the end of a golden age in American songwriting, when the great American songbook was still being written, and singers like Bing Crosby, Frank Sinatra, and Ella Fitzgerald gave voice to his words. Born in 1909 in Savannah, Georgia, Mercer rose to prominence during the 1930s and 1940s, a time when the United States sought joy and meaning through song amidst the trials of the Great Depression and the anxieties of war. His lyrics such as Moon River, That Old Black Magic, and Accentuate the Positive captured a unique blend of wit, optimism, and yearning. He co-founded Capitol Records in 1942, helping shape the direction of American popular music and bringing new artists to national attention. In the years leading up to his death, Mercer continued writing but slowed his output as health problems surfaced. Diagnosed with a brain tumor in the early 1970s, he endured a long illness that gradually removed him from the public stage. Unlike the dramatic or sudden deaths of other cultural icons, Mercer's passing was gentle and dignified, mirroring the elegance and restraint that marked his work. The immediate aftermath of his death was one of reverent remembrance within the music industry and among fans. Tributes poured in, honoring not only the sheer volume of his output, over 1,500 songs, but the emotional resonance and literary quality of his lyrics. His legacy has only grown with time, as new generations discover his songs through film, covers, and tributes. Mercer's death reveals a deeper truth about humanity's relationship with mortality and memory. His songs live on, not only in recordings but in the emotional experiences they capture: nostalgia, longing, joy, and loss. Through music, Mercer achieved a kind of immortality. His voice carried forward not by sound alone, but by sentiment. His life and death remind us that while fame fades, the human spirit, when expressed with sincerity and beauty, endures through the art it leaves behind. Sika Anoai, born Leati Sika Anoai in 1945, was a pioneering figure in professional wrestling and a revered member of the famed Anoa'i wrestling dynasty. He passed away from natural causes on June 25, 2024, at the age of 79. His death marked not just the loss of a legend within the squared circle, but the fading of a foundational era in wrestling history, one rooted in family legacy, grit, and cultural pride. As one half of the Wild Samoans tag team alongside his brother Afa, Sika helped redefine tag team wrestling in the 1970s and early 1980s. Known for their wild man gimmick, intense physicality, and unmatched chemistry, the duo earned championship gold across major promotions, including the WWF. At a time when Pacific Islander representation was rare in mainstream entertainment, Sika's presence was groundbreaking. While their characters often played into stereotypes of the era, the Anoa'i brothers brought cultural authenticity and commanding presence to the ring, laying the groundwork for future generations of Samoan wrestlers. Sika's death came at a time when his family's influence on wrestling remained dominant. His son, Roman Reigns, had become the face of WWE, and other relatives, like the Usos and Solo Sikoa, continued to carry the torch. The timing of Sika's passing, during a peak in the bloodline storyline involving his descendants, added emotional weight to ongoing narratives. Fans and colleagues responded with tributes, emphasizing how the elder Anoa'i's mentorship and sacrifice helped build not only a family legacy, but an industry standard. His death underscored the endurance of family values, mentorship, and tradition in the often transient world of sports entertainment. While his era favored physical dominance and character-driven storytelling, today's industry reflects more complex identities, an evolution that Sika helped make possible through his authenticity and resilience. The reverberations of his passing go beyond the wrestling community. He is immortalized not only through Hall of Fame accolades, but through oral storytelling, documentaries, and symbolic gestures in wrestling storylines. Like ancient warriors whose tales are passed through generations, Sika Anoai remains larger than life, a bridge between cultural heritage and global entertainment. In remembering Sika, we're reminded that mortality does not end influence. It deepens it, as we find meaning in legacy, honor in remembrance, and power in continuity. Through performance, family, and memory, Sika Anoai's name echoes on. Patrick Macnee, best known as the impeccably dressed and unflappably charming John Steed from the iconic 1960s British television series The Avengers, died of natural causes on June 25, 2015, at the age of 93. He passed away peacefully at his home in Rancho Mirage, California. His death marked the quiet close of an era that had once thrived on wit, elegance, and a uniquely British blend of espionage and eccentricity. Macnee's passing in his 90s stood in contrast to the youthful energy he exuded during his heyday. His career blossomed during a post-war Britain eager to redefine itself, not through the shadows of empire, but through culture and innovation. The Avengers emerged at a time when the UK was redefining modern masculinity and gender dynamics. Steed's partnership with empowered female agents like Emma Peel symbolized a progressive, albeit stylized, shift. His death reminded audiences of a time when storytelling relied more on charm than spectacle, a nod to the shifting tides of entertainment values. While the immediate global response to his death was muted compared to modern celebrities, his passing was deeply felt by fans of classic television and British pop culture. Tributes praised McNee not just for his work on screen, but for the grace and professionalism he embodied off-camera. His dignified image stood as a cultural counterpoint to more turbulent portrayals of masculinity, offering instead a vision of civility and intellectual flair. McNee's legacy was amplified, not diminished, by his passing. In the years since, retrospectives, documentaries, and fan tributes have revisited the Avengers and his broader body of work, reaffirming his influence on generations of actors and audiences. His image in bowler hat and umbrella remains a visual shorthand for a certain British archetype: cool under pressure, unfailingly polite, and quietly subversive. In reflecting on McNee's death, we confront how figures of media and culture often become symbols, mirrors of our aspirations, anxieties, and ideals. Through reruns, memoirs, and homage, we preserve their presence, allowing them to speak long after they've gone. In doing so, we reveal a truth as old as humanity. Though the body may fade, memory, meaning, and myth endure. Bill Dana, born William Sath Mary, was a gifted comedian, writer, and actor, best known for his character Jose Jimenez, a satirical portrayal of a Latin American immigrant that brought both acclaim and controversy. Dana died of natural causes on June 15, 2017, at the age of 92 in Nashville, Tennessee. His passing marked the end of a long and complex career that both reflected and shaped American comedic sensibilities during a pivotal era of cultural transformation. The character of Jose Jimenez, created in the 1950s, rose to prominence during a time when ethnic humor was both widely accepted and heavily scrutinized. Dana, a Hungarian Jewish American, portrayed Jimenez with a thick accent and wide-eyed innocence that many audiences found endearing. However, as the civil rights movement progressed and cultural sensitivity deepened, the portrayal began to draw criticism for reinforcing stereotypes. Dana himself eventually retired the character in the 1970s, acknowledging the evolving social consciousness and choosing dignity over stubbornness, a decision that itself reflected the shifting values of the time. Dana's death, though quiet and without the media frenzy that surrounds younger celebrities, served as a reflective moment for the entertainment industry. He was remembered not only for his comic timing and writing, including contributions to The Steve Allen Show and All in the Family, but also for how he navigated the cultural tides with grace. His death did not shift the course of history, but it offered a chance to reassess how humor functions across decades and how entertainers reckon with their legacies. In the aftermath of his passing, tributes focused on Dana's intellect, kindness, and humility. His ability to reinvent himself as a performer, advocate, and writer underscored a broader truth. Cultural figures are often remembered not just for what they created, but for how they evolved. Dana's legacy has been preserved in interviews, comedy archives, and the affectionate recollections of his peers. Ultimately, Bill Dana's life and death highlight the fluid boundary between satire and sensitivity, humor and harm. His journey reflects humanity's deeper grappling with mortality and memory, how we remember those who made us laugh, even as our understanding of that laughter continues to change. Through television reruns, tribute articles, and comedy retrospectives, Dana remains a part of the cultural dialogue, a symbol of an era learning to laugh more thoughtfully. Skip Homemire, an American actor whose career spanned radio, film, and television, passed away of natural causes on June 25, 2017, at the age of 86. He died quietly in Indian Wells, California, far from the spotlight that had once illuminated his promising early years in Hollywood. Homire's death marked the end of a career that subtly mirrored the evolution of American media and the challenges faced by actors transitioning between eras. Homemire first gained attention as a child actor during World War II, playing emotionally complex roles that highlighted themes of indoctrination and redemption. His breakthrough performance in Tomorrow, The World, 1944, as a young Nazi brought to America for re-education, reflected wartime anxieties and post-war hopes. His role was unsettling yet important, emblematic of a country grappling with the horrors of fascism and the psychological toll of global conflict. The fact that a teenager could portray such a character with nuance showed both his talent and the industry's commitment to storytelling as a form of national reflection. As television replaced cinema as the dominant medium, Homemire transitioned smoothly into TV westerns and crime dramas during the 1950s and 1960s. His numerous guest appearances on shows like Star Trek, Gunsmoke, and The Rifleman spoke to both his versatility and the era's shifting narratives, where lone heroes, moral ambiguity, and frontier justice dominated the American imagination. Homire's passing didn't generate widespread public mourning, but for film historians and classic TV enthusiasts, it was a moment to revisit a body of work that had contributed to several cultural milestones. His characters often embodied inner conflict, representing post-war American masculinity, strong, brooding, and often misunderstood. In this sense, his legacy is subtle but significant. He helped define an archetype during a transformative time in entertainment. His death prompts reflection on how many actors of his era, especially those who began as child stars, struggled with career longevity in a rapidly changing industry. His quiet exit from the public eye and eventual death from natural causes contrast sharply with the turbulent lives of some of his contemporaries, underscoring the unpredictable nature of fame. We remember figures like Skip Homire, not through monuments or mass memorials, but through the quiet endurance of their work. Each rerun, film screening, or scholarly reference serves as a small act of commemoration, an acknowledgement of their place in the layered narrative of American performance history.